The meeting will call to order, please.
Oh, call to order.
Okay, we're good.
We have a quorum present.
All appointed, James?
Can I make that announcement?
We do have a quorum, which is 60 property owners. I just wanted to put that on record. Approval of minutes.
Madam President, I would like to respectfully submit the minutes which were published on the Woodhaven News as given, and we would entertain a motion for one of our members to approve them.
I'll make the motion to approve them. Ernie Mitchell, 1679 Navy.
Second? All right.
I'll
Thank-
third it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are put into record. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
We have Mike.
Thank you, Madam President. So in your books, you'll see on page 13, the independent auditor's report from Whipley. That was the audit, the financial audit that we had just finished. It was for the consolidated balance sheets of March 31st, 2020 and 2019. The opinion of the audit was that it was unfounded. There were no audit findings at all, and actually we had pristine paperwork once again. We have not had any findings in any financial audit report that's been submitted for many, many years now. So that's actually a very good thing. Then if you turn to page 14, shows the Woodhaven Association subsidiary consolidated balance sheets. This is 2019 and 2020. As far as assets, if you look at the total assets at the top of page 14, the 2019 total assets was $30,096,036, and this year, for 2020, it was increased to $32,020,359. Our liabilities and association equity total assets has also increased. Last year, we were at $7,610,107, and for 2020, we were at $8,522,264 for total liabilities. If you look at the next one going down, which is the total association equity, the first one is showing these are the restricted funds. The designated for future major repairs, that's our restricted fund. Those are funds that are used for repairing or replacing assets that we currently have. Last year, our restricted fund was at, for reserves, was at $10,972,398. For 2020, our reserves are at $12,434,090. Investment for fixed assets went down slightly. It was $10,271,070 for 2019. In 2020, it was $10,005,004. And then finally, the unrestricted, which is our operating fund, was at $1,242,461 for 2019. And for 2020 was at $1,059,001 for a total association equity of $23,498,095, which is up from prior year of $22,485,929. So our total liabilities and association equity currently sit at $32,020,359. And if you look at page 15, if you go down to the net income, our net income for 2019 was $1,207,369, and for 2020 it was $1,012,166. Again, for the association equity end of the year, we finished 2020 year end at $23,498,095. And then looking at the consolidated statement cash flow, I know that Jeff is he's gonna go over this in more detail than I am, but just to take a look at it, our net cash flow from operating activities for 2019 was $2,710,796, and for 2020 we were at $1,357,749. Net cash flow from investment activities was a negative of $2,513,000 and $2,513,507 versus a negative of $3,147,569 for 2019. And then our ending cash and cash equivalents for restricted and unrestricted funds. The beginning cash balance was $5,718,941, and we ended 2020 at $4,563,183. And that would be the end of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Election report. Where's that? I need it.
Probably forgot to give it to you. There's a lot of source. Amy has just got it.
The 2020 board election report. There were 5,867 eligible voters. Of these, 1,439 envelopes were picked up from Pioneer State Bank, and 363 votes were cast online for the first time that we've ever had electronic voting. Ballots received but deemed invalid. Assessments owing were 3 ballots overvoted, 2. Envelope with unconfirmed lot description, 1. Envelope with no ballot, 1. Unofficial ballots for online and paper, 1. And received after the count, 1. So total of invalid ballots, 9. So the total ballots tabulated were 1,793. Less undershort votes were 586. So the total votes counted were 4,793. So the general election results, starting with Wes Rosleth, was 728. Ivan Martinez, 1,103. Laura Packwood, 1,046. Marco Rodriguez, 865. Daniel Rossi, 1,038. And there were 13 write-in votes. So once again, to confirm, there were 4,793 votes. So I'd like to congratulate those for the elected Board of Directors for the term of 2020 through 2024, Ivan Martinez, Laura Packwood, and Dan Rossi. Congratulations. All right, Executive Director's report.
All right, good morning, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. It's very much appreciated. I'm Jeff Hickey, I'm your Executive Director. I want to take an opportunity to introduce some of the other staff members. Their pictures are provided in the annual report on pages 10 and 11. But with me today is our General Manager of Member Services, Randy Kaler. Our General Manager of Administrative Services, Amy Ackert. Rusty Lindemeyer, our Director of Utility Operations. Tim O'Loughlin, Director of Recreation Aquatics. Director of Public Safety, Rick Farringer. Our Director of Maintenance and Resource, Greg Dimmick. Our Lakes Manager, Jerry Corcoran. And our Aquatics Manager, Justin Rodriguez. So, thank you for being here, and they'll help answer questions and address any concerns that come up under member business from the floor. The intent of my report today is to try to keep this as brief as I can so that we can move on to the other aspects of the agenda. But to begin with, I guess I want to explain a little bit that's different, and I think you've seen some confusion up here. The annual meeting's different than our regular board meetings, because the annual meeting is really about last fiscal year. And in the association, that last fiscal year began April 1 of 2019, and it ended March 31 of 2020. A lot of things have happened since March 31st, 2020. There's a lot of difference that we may talk about today, but the intent of the annual meeting is to be focused on what happened last year during that fiscal year. So we're going to try to highlight a lot of that information for you. And kind of to begin with that, I'll talk about the presentation in the report. We do a year in review with a number of pictures. It follows Christine's State of the Association. I encourage you to read through that information. It addresses bullet points and activities that occurred during the 2019-2020 fiscal year. And if you have any questions or need clarification on anything in that report, let us know. We're also going to kind of focus on the financial performance. I will continue on with additional information that was provided by Laura Packwood. And then, as you know, we ended the year with the quarantine and the stay-at-home orders and COVID-19, which started really a week before the end of our fiscal year. And so our environment changed considerably at that time. But with regard to the financial performance, I want you to, just reiterate Laura's comments. We received a favorable opinion on our financial audit, which is the desired opinion and what we would like to get. The information that's provided in your report is the consolidated report of the association, so it consolidates all of our operations. And so what you see is that information. Now, there is a detailed report that is published online, and I encourage you, if you have any further need for information, that you review that report and ask any questions that you need. Some of the things in the summary report that I want to highlight that changed this year are in the footnotes section. So the first reference that I want to draw your attention to is on page 18 of the audit report. And it's in about the middle section of page 18, where it says, due to the COVID-19 virus crisis, and then it references subsequent event note, footnote J. We made reference and note in our financial report because we changed the due dates of your assessments this year. Everything was pushed back 30 days because of the COVID-19, and that was noted in our audit report. And it did fluctuate and change some of the numbers when you compare them from 2020 and 2019. The other information and footnotes I want to draw your attention to are footnote C on page 22. And that would be the long-term debt footnote. All of this debt is internal debt. It's funding that we borrowed from our reserves to address the tornado cleanup, disaster recovery costs. And then also back in 2008, when we purchased the water and sewer assets from Aqua America, we had to borrow some money to do that. So those are two loans that are being paid back internally. They are eliminated in the consolidated reports, but this footnote addresses those, and I would like you to be aware of that footnote. Page 22, footnote G, is our income taxes. And again, the information here is provided in summary form. Our income tax returns have been delayed in part because of the COVID challenges and things like that, so we did file for an extension. The completed income tax returns have been presented. We're in process of final review, and those will be filed when they need to be filed. And as noted, we're in a very stable position for income taxes with significant loss carryovers to apply to any future income. On page 23, you have three footnotes that I'll touch on as well. Your future major repairs and replacements, Laura referenced the reserve funds totaling $12.4 million. There's a paragraph H that addresses a little bit more information on that. And then the pages in the report, which include 24, 25, 26, and 27, provide you with more information about our reserve funds and how they're allocated and considered into our budget planning. Footnotes I and J were modified or added. Subsequent events addresses the COVID-19 impact, which had an impact on our financial reports. It also references the association's decision to pursue the payroll protection program loans. And then footnote I talks about owner assessments and how that has impacted your report. So all of those things included, well, the long-term debt and the income taxes are standard, and the reserves are standard forms. You would have seen them last year. Footnote I and J, and then the adjustment in A, footnote A were kind of new or added because of the impact of what has transpired. With regard to how we operated, I want to break down some information a little bit more for you to look at. So turn to page 10 and 11? Nope. 8 and 9, I believe. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, the detailed audit report is available to you online, but we do provide a supplemental summary schedule for you to see how each particular entity performed for the association. And this would again be in fiscal year 1920. And first thing I got to point out is a typo I missed in this particular report. It's not 2 years of 2019. That second to the last column is the fiscal year 2020. And so the results from that year show a net operating change in equity of a surplus of $181,063. And then you see the breakdown in the various funds: operating, lot, water and sewer, general store, service center, and Woodhaven Lakes Realty. We had favorable variances in the operating fund and in the service center, and we had unfavorable variances in the lot fund, utility fund, general store, and Woodhaven Lakes Realty last year. Of note, the service center had by far its best year ever, reporting a positive return of $253,815 compared to a projected budget of $113,795. This was largely from the grain harvesting and the LP revenue that was generated. If you recall, last year was extremely wet in the spring. Many of the local farmers were unable to get their crops in the field. Many of them didn't plant until the middle of June or later. What that does to impact their industry is that crop doesn't mature, so when it's harvested at the end of the year, it's too wet. And the way you address that is you dry it, usually with an LP grain dryer. So we benefited from really an unfortunate thing for the local farmers, but it is why you see that number as high as it is. Sales have been very good in the store as well. They've been consistent with what we've seen in the past, and we haven't seen any major changes in that aspect. So that's why you see that big fluctuation and that big change. And then the rest of the equity was posted to the restricted fund to tie out to the equity of $1,012,146. All right, page 9 kind of gives us a summary of our blueprint going forward. And again, we need to keep in mind that this summary is based on plans that were put in place and approved at the March board meeting. So some things are going to change when we start working on our budget for next year, fiscal year 21-22. But at that time, we have information that shows you projected assessments, which this year, we increased the assessments for the first time in 3 years to the 1,360 and the 1,235 for the respective lot classifications. Our intent is to keep that the same for 2 more years. And then consider an increase 3 years out, and then hold the line at that point in time. The other information referenced includes a summary of how our reserve plan currently sits, along with how it's projected in the 5-year window, and includes information on the internal loans. The big assessment changes that occurred in planning for fiscal year 2021 were to address minimum wage and competitive wages with our employees, which we talked about that. Some other statistics that aren't included in the report that we like to just kind of have reference to. Total water used this year was 90 million gallons from all entities in Woodhaven. That compared to last year at 89 million. Wastewater processed through the plant was 90 million gallons as well, but only 67 last year. And again, that rain events that we talked about impacted us throughout the year. Even though we are addressing a lot of our infiltration issues, we still have a lot of water when it rains that ends up in our sewer systems and has to be processed and taken care of. On our website sessions, we had 180,834 visits to the site compared to 175,176 the year before. And just for a reference point, in 2005, 2006, the number of website visits was under 67,000. So that information is being used more frequently today. Facebook likes, we were at 17,973 at the end of the year compared to last year, 17,058. And again, for reference, in 2009, 2010, our Facebook likes were 1,309. Twitter, we have 507 accounts. YouTube and Instagram, 1,144. Woodhaven app has continued to grow. Property owner emails on record are 3,970. It's actually down from last year when we were at 4,179. And Woodhaven Lakes Realty closings for the year were 140 closing transactions compared to 126 the year before. Okay, my next set of bullet points is just to take that breath and say, okay, all of this is great, and I do want to emphasize that last year was generally very normal. Since March, it's been an interesting year for us, and I'm sure Christine will talk more about this. The words we've used are uncertainty and then perseverance. And as we've been through this, I do want to emphasize that, and I'm going to kind of play off of the last comments at one of our board meetings. I think we're very fortunate to have what we have at Woodhaven. I'm proud, and I'm proud of the staff for what we've been able to accomplish to make something available for you this year. And it kind of leads into the power of positivity. But, what we've done as an organization is we found that the simple things in life are maybe the most important things for us. It's the time to get together with your family. It's the time to sit around the campfire and spend time with each other. And I'm glad that Woodhaven can be part of that. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to create events and create things for you to entertain you while you're here. But you've done a really good job of entertaining yourself this year and being respectful of what we need to do this year to get through 2020-21. So thank you very much for that. So I want to focus on some of those positive things and what we'll build on. I want to address and correct the things we can. I don't want to be distracted by the things I can't control. And those are all kind of from that. So as we think about and plan for fiscal year 21, 22. In our budget planning process this fall, I want you to know that's Woodhaven's 50th year. We've got a lot of ideas in the head and plans to bring, some exciting times, and we certainly hope we're able to do that. And again, recognition in conclusion is to thank, the group of volunteers here that are our board, our committee members. I want to thank our staff and the people that helped me do the things that we're able to do here at Woodhaven. Our interest is in giving the association its top priority. So whatever the association needs is really what we want to accomplish. I want to thank you for your support. I sincerely hope all of you continue to enjoy your time here as a Woodhaven property owner. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We share some of the same sentiment, and it's probably because we meet every day or sometimes several hours. I'm going to highlight, it's actually denoted in here, a reflection of this past year. And I was thinking, what could I say that, what was the theme? And really, I don't know who decided in the recreation department to say into the wild, but I don't know if you could forecast, but it certainly was wild. And so it still is, yes. And so it lived up to its name. And we started off with the change right out of the very beginning, like Jeff said. And we started out with a minimum wage increase. And in order to do that, we reviewed all of our projects. We looked at our reserves to see how we could minimize the impact to the assessments, but ultimately increasing the assessments. So we started out, into the wild already there. But we knew we needed to keep a competitive wage at Woodhaven in order to attract, good talent in a rural area. And just when we started to recruit, of course, and to fulfill those positions, the pandemic hit. Best timing in the world, right? So we had to halt in regards to recruiting and quickly rally and figure out, what were going to be the restrictions. And did anybody really know what the restrictions were and what was the timing? We had a ton more questions than we had answers, and we were obviously in the throes like everybody else trying to figure things out. From March until May, we did something that, have we ever done this, where we closed the facilities? Okay.
For a week, for 4 days.
Okay,
Once, we won't talk about that.
during the tornado, right.
Yeah, we
But
don't want to do that again.
no, but when you think about what we did, we closed our facilities to safeguard our staff as well as the property owner's health and abide by the pandemic regulations. And the Woodhaven front gate was the sole hub of activity. Can you imagine being a dispatcher at that gate at that time? Allowing owners to check on their property. That was a big deal, and that was something that we really wanted to ensure that the property owners understood that they had rights to the property and could see their property and take care of it. All the while, the management and the board of directors, we consistently met all the time. We were constantly on the phone, putting things in place, multiple areas, what were the phases? What would they eventually allow us to do? How could we increase services? How could we create a safe environment once you came back? How do we maintain employment? Who would be furloughed, who wouldn't be? It truly was a very big task. And then to top it off, we knew that we had to be sensitive to the property owners and the challenges that they were facing as well. And we delayed the assessment and the installment payments to provide some relief to property owners who were financially impacted during the pandemic.
We also waived the late fee.
Right, and we did waive the late fee. I didn't know if people knew that. Between May and June, it was a total scramble. So once I shouldn't say a total scramble, but I mean, it's like all of a sudden we were kind of let go between the phases that we knew that we could start executing on things, where we could start opening on the facilities and services. So we had to act very quickly. And each department did rally around that. It was unbelievable. I know it was intense. I know, we put pressure on you, and I know that everybody's intent was to serve the property owners. So thank you. Families did venture out, slowly but surely. And it was a different kind of slowly but surely venture out this year, where it wasn't automatic, when it came to Memorial Day. It was slow, but people started coming out, and people really started staying on their lots. And you're right, you said Woody's True Value was bustling. I don't think I've ever seen so many decks built, and as many honeydew projects finally getting executed, so, well, some people.
Sitting across from each other, isn't that funny?
No, the projects are still going. Fast forwarding to this August, think about that. Think about that whirlwind and that wild nature of what was going on. All the facilities are open, and all of our positions are filled. It's amazing, all the amount of work that's being done. A lot of fresh faces at Woodhaven, and we're fully staffed. And we also maintain a solid fiscal year. Not a lot of places can say that. And we enjoyed our main event, minus the fireworks. I missed them dearly, but it was the right thing to do. But there was a lot of fun to be had with the Paul Bunyan and the car show, and the open market, and everybody was very respectful of the distancing. And as I mentioned at the end, we were in the wild, and we're surviving, and we need to continue to survive. End of report. Acknowledgement and then do the member business. You're going to do the. Okay. So we do the committees now. Yeah. At this time, I'd like you to take a look at page 12. There's a lot of names on this page, and we couldn't be successful if we didn't have these names on this page. These are your volunteers, and I'd like to make these acknowledgements. Yeah, the section. I'll quickly go through these, and obviously you see these. We have the section representatives and alternates. Section 1, Jim McGrady, and then it's not Mike Micka anymore, but it's Marty. Section 2, Pat Service and Jane Elliott. Section 3, Maria Del Grazio and Judy Gonzalez. Section 4, Marion Schutz and Greg Swanstrom. Section 5, Harry Keppel and Marcia Kosowski. Section 6, Michael Flanagan and Pat Winters. Section 7, Karen Larson, Lee Patterson. Section 8, Linda Smith and Mary Muir. Section 9, Jack Myers. Section 10, Bob Palatine and Tony Lona. Section 11, Dawn Anima and Kelly Fox. Section 12, Heather Hansen and Chris Collins. Section 13 does not have a rep at this time. Section 14, John Thanis and Tony Dorsch. Section 15, Nancy Jackson and Elaine Ayers. Section 16, Ernest Mitchell and Richard Ziegenfuss. Section 17, Jose Navarro and Darlene Singleton. Section 18, Rosemary Colness and Joanne Lentke. Section 19, Carmi Temple. Section 20, Diane Connolly. Section 21, Mr. Moffett. Section 22, Kathy Brush. Section 23, Marilyn Chris and Rita Olson. Section 24, Lori Pica, Marissa Chavez. Section 25, Diana Strong. Section 26, Ed Reedy, Angel Flores. And Section 27, Chris Cordero, Charlene Hill. 28, there's no representative. Section 29, Christine Pontrelli and Patrice Ryman. Thank you, section reps and alternates. Want me to keep going through all these? Okay.
You can have them, yeah.
Yeah. The volunteer committees, the East Sac Board of Review, Board Liaison Ryan Grace. Members Dan Rossi, Bill Engelman, Dave Foss, Darlene Singleton, Dick Gobrick, Mary Muir, and Neil Smith. Thank you. Public Safety Board of Review, Board Liaison Pam Smith, members Frank Lowry as chairperson, Bob Merup, Patrick Slight, George Metzger, Susan Rossi, Christine Masterson, and Luisa Nicotera. Thank you. Facilities Planning Board Liaison Charlie Muir and Staff Liaison Jeff Hickey, members Jim Dow, Terry Gillespie, Peter Kroll, Dana Wayne, Jose Gonzalez, Greg Hoffling, and Tom McLaughlin. Finance Committee, Laura Packwood, Jeff Hickey. Members, Joan Dennis, Dave Strutzel, Nancy Roca, Jim Parker, Mary Salvatore, and Helena Walden. Audit Committee, myself, Laura Packwood, Jeff Hickey, and Amy Ackert. Communications Committee, who's helped with this annual meeting, Board Liaison Ivan Martinez, Staff Liaison Nikki Leffelman and Amy Ackert, members Nancy Jackson, Kieran Larson, Mary Willoughby, Ralph Pimenthal, Renee Merup, Kim Norwood, Cam Chisholm, and Linda Stevens. Thank you. Environmental Committee, liaison is Jeff Hickey, members Bill Engelman and Mary Salvatore. Governing Documents Review Committee, I'm the board liaison. The staff liaison, Amy Ackert, Jeff Hickey, Karen Roche. Members Dick Gobrick, Jane Holland, Kevin Mickelson, Neil Smith, Tracy Lamont, Dana Wayne, John Thanos, Linda Monkton, Ralph Pimenthal, and Wes Russliff. And the last one, but not least, Veterans Memorial Ad Hoc Committee, Chairperson Ivan Martinez, members Ernie Mitchell, Rob Rundle, Art Dian, Richard Mull, Mike Connolly, Richard Ziegenfuss, Dan Martinez, Diana Owens, and Leonard Jackson. Thank you, volunteers. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Okay, we have one more recognition that we'd like to make today, and Mike, you're not getting off without getting a little roasting along the way, so. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Mike for his years of service on the Board of Directors. As many of you know, Mike and I don't always see eye to eye.
No.
It never happens. No, it happens. It is fine. But one of the things that I want to say about Mike is he's done what very few people are willing to do, and in fact, what any member sitting next to me up here at this table is willing to do. And that's to give up their time and participate in the decision-making process here at Woodhaven. And this sacrifice is to be respected, and it should always be recognized. And I do want to extend my thanks on behalf of the administration, on this board of directors, and in the association to you, Mike, for your years of service here at Woodhaven.
Thank you.
2014 to 2020. We've been having some fun with you, but your chair you're sitting in is yours to take with you. And we have a certificate and gift we'd like to give you as you leave the board. Thank you.
Let's get up when I can. All this for a round of mini golf?
You should open your gift.
Yeah, please open your gift. Jeff worked hard on this.
Ooh. Wish I would've worn that shirt.
Oh, look at that.
That is beautiful. Thank you. Whoever took the time to do this, thank you.
Here, let's.
Amy, thank you.
I still have,
Who made it?
And maybe we started a new tradition. We may all get one. Well, Amy didn't make it, she took care of it.
Oh, she took care of it.
Oh, yeah, I still have all those shirts.
Isn't that nice?
We know, Mike, we know.
What did he say?
I still have
Thank
one.
you.
Oh,
Thank you all.
see, it didn't explode, I told you.
Those are my t-shirts. They
still
still have the
ticking,
stains
though.
on them.
It's still ticking, yes. All right. Thank you, Mike. Before we get to member business from the floor, I want to do this reading so that all the members understand this, and we will do this because of the live streaming. So now I believe it's good afternoon, and welcome to the annual meeting. Please note this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on Woodhaven Association's YouTube channel. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded and broadcast live. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is inadvertently broadcast. Comments made by members from the gallery during member business from the floor will also be live streamed and recorded and publicly available on the retained meeting footage. There will be no direct communication between the board of directors and viewers of the live stream. All member business from the floor must be performed by members in attendance in person at the meeting. Live streams and recordings of board meetings and any other public forums and meetings authorized by Woodhaven's board of directors remain the property of Woodhaven Association. Access to live streams and recordings of meetings is provided for personal and non-commercial use. Video images and audio must not be altered, reproduced, or republished without any permission of the board of directors. The Woodhaven Association is not liable for any unknown, unauthorized use or republication of live streams or video recordings as provided. All right, at this point, we will take member business from the floor. Before we take member business from the floor, I ask that you state your name and section and lot number, and your comments will be 3 minutes only on one topic, so that others can provide, so we provide ample time for everybody.
Hi, Bob Palatine, Section 10, 284. I just want to, there's a lot of laudatory praises we can spread around here, but I want to focus right now on the Public Safety Department and what a good job that they do here. Now, I know throughout our country, but I keep everything within the Woodhaven boundaries here. I just want to talk about them. We had some trouble over in Section 10 with speeding and that, and we asked for help. And they've been out there, they've been parked outside the speed zone where we've had problems. They've been monitoring it. And I see them around, around the bandstand and everything here on Saturday nights and that. And these guys do just a great job. And they're always courteous. They never come on strong or with attitude or nothing. They're always, they seem like they handle everything just right. And I know there's a lot of things said about public safety in this day and age. But I think that we should reward a public safety with, whatever, with pay increases or whatever we can do to help them to show our appreciation for the good job they do here. Because they're not police. I'm not calling them that. They're public safety. And that's what they do. Mm-hmm. And I see that all the time. And I just think that they really deserve to be recognized, in any way that the board sees fit.
Thank you very much.
My name is Jim McGrady from Section 1, Lot 103. I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the men and women in front of me for their decisions, and the men and women to my right and to my left for their actions, their actions that helped salvage this season and this summer. It was particularly rough at the beginning, but I saw no indication of anybody giving up the fight or throwing in the towel. The decision process seemed to be ongoing, ever-changing, but with some excellent communication to let us all know what was going on, why decisions were being made, and why there were changes along the way. And the gentleman over here to my left, Sam, who seemed to, by all indications, be able to jump into action and make sure that we had the equipment we needed and we were following all the newer laws and policies in place to make sure that all property owners were part of the communication process. So thank you very much.
I know, I'll keep it to 3 minutes. So Todd Moffett, Section 21, Lot 86. My question is directed to Mr. Hickey or maybe Rick Farringer. I have noticed here recently this year that I'm seeing more than 4 vehicles on a property. With the fact that you're only allowed 4 vehicles or 4 passes, there should be only 4 vehicles at most on a lot. What steps does public safety take when it's noticed that there are 5, 6, 8 cars on a property? Do we go and check to see if that lot or section is being the right amount of passes that are put in? Because we have had issues before where people are passing passes over the fence and coming in on the same pass a second time. So I don't know who could best address that, but that is my question. Thank you.
You want to take a stab at it, Randy?
Well, our gate system does allow us to see what passes are used on each property. And are there going to be times where that system is used? Probably. So the policy is 1 pass per vehicle, or 1 pass for 2 motorcycles or scooters. When property owners have guests, they also have the ability to purchase a guest pass as well. I can't speak for what public safety is doing when they do see multiple cars on properties, and maybe Rick can address that a little bit better, but just because there are multiple cars, 5, 6, 7 cars on a property does not mean that all of those cars are for that lot. Could be other property owner cars that are there visiting. So in terms of that, I don't believe that public safety would just see 6 or 7 cars on a property and go and start asking for passes based on just viewing that. But we are able to view and see what passes are being used for each lot, and if there are any questions, we can do that through our system. Rick, you want to verify that?
That about hits it right there, is that, somebody comes to your property and visits. We're more concerned about somebody using a lot without an active in pass for that lot. Somebody doesn't pay their dues, somebody else brings them in, they go to their property. Usually that's the evening shift that we start keeping a closer eye on that. We do a lot of that checking. You'll see citations issued for overnight occupancy without an active in pass, because that's what somebody's trying to do. We're more concerned about that. If there are times that you see somebody show up at your property by you, that you think that they're inactive, that they've got other cars you haven't seen, give us a call. With just over 6,000 lots, it's kind of a hit and miss on us trying to keep up with all that, but you know your neighborhood more than we do. They might give it to somebody else, and it only takes us a few minutes with the system that we have to see if it's got a scanned-in pass or not. If it don't, then we go out and talk to them.
The other thing, I know there's been a little bit of banter recently on one of the Facebook pages regarding this, where there was some pretty bad information given that you could use 1 pass and just pass it back to other cars. Well, we do not allow that. The gate staff would not allow that. If that is happening, and I'm sure it's happened at times where a car will come in and 10 minutes later maybe go and pass to another car around the administration building so another car can get in. We will be able to see that. Typically, if it's an A pass and an A pass comes in, and 10 minutes later there's no A pass going out, and that A pass comes in again, we can monitor those things. But we do not allow that.
Thank you.
It was Todd's question. Come on, Todd.
Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.